How's it going? Today is 11th of September, Wednesday, and we are taking a look at the market, what kind of opportunities we can find. Today we're gonna be taking a look at universities and potentially reach out to a number of those. Let's see what kind of opportunities we might be able to create when it comes to establishing partnerships with universities, right? But before we do that, let's take a look at some of the government press releases. That would be UK is looking to purchase services. That would be Chancellor announces 8 billion worth of services and investment that UK is making, which that's tax money and it's been wasted. It's such a waste of tax money. So for I'll touch on it. That's a government, I guess, and that's something that the government is doing all the time, I guess. We can take a look at Europe and what Europe is doing to put things into perspective, right? That would be something that happened in February, so I thought I'll touch on it. That would be recommendations on security and resilience of submarine cables infrastructure. So finally, UK is noticing as well as looking to improving coordination, enhancing governance, and increasing funding. So at least Europe is making right decisions, right? While UK is making something, the UK is doing something, I guess. So for that, I'll touch on it, and hopefully Europe will be looking to invest in building entire infrastructure themselves. So while Europe is looking to build it themselves, UK is looking to purchase for services for 8 billion worth of services, which is massive amount, right? Let's take a look at. There was a lot of information that was sent to me for me to take a look at. That is something that we did last year, so I thought we can do another round this year. During this period, there's a lot of students, and then reaching out to universities. The core focuses are customers or students, so not necessarily looking and or replying very soon to businesses reaching out to universities, but I thought we can touch on it. That would be research. I know. Let's try to understand it overall worth of doing any research work within universities and or perhaps reaching out to universities and establishing those partnerships, right? When it comes to investment, so let's see how money works, right? That would be some of the work that was published. Research initiatives, universities generate nearly 38 billion pounds for UK's economy throughout research, innovation, and or creation of the new businesses. New analyses reveal something that was published in February, right? Again, so how all this data would be shared. So would all the data would be shared, and potentially someone would be reading that data. Very all the very sensitive information with all the businesses, and all these services would be within UK would be outsourced to somebody else. I don't know why. Europe, at least Europe is looking to build their own services, so no one potentially would read all that information for them, just in case. But at least Europe is doing a little bit of thinking. But let's take a look at what UK is doing. Then, we take a look at some of those services, right? 8 billion worth, by the way. But anyway, a new report by London Economics assessing the economic impact of the 24 Russell Group universities found that for every single pound of public funds invested in research and these institutions, more than 8.5 was generated for a case economy. As a result, the impact of the research and commercialization activities equated to 37.5, so 37.6 billions in 2021-22, right? All this data and all this work, then doing any research and or testing, looking for new materials, developing new technologies, all this data would be very sensitive for business purposes, right? And to have secure lines of communication would be very, very important for any economy, including UK's economy. And outsourcing these kind of services should be a matter of national security for UK. And they're looking to do that and will enter into partnership with other governments. I don't know why, but that was a decision made, right? hopefully Europe don't make the same mistakes. Let's take a look at top universities when it comes to perhaps universities for computer science, right? So that would be some of those articles that were sent to me. By the way, to take a look at. So I thought we can take a look at it. Doesn't matter, I guess, that much. Again, I don't know rating system, as well as I don't know previous article that I have just read, right? That would be what the sample piece that was taken to evaluate what work was carried out and all these kind of things. That would be important, right? What kind of work, what universities we've been taking a look at, what was the size of the group, was there 10 and was 100 different works that was taken a look at, and value was assessed in what period within 10 years. All this data was missing, by the way. Once that been said, we can take a look at top quote unquote universities for computer science, right? And statistics are right. And again, I don't know how those universities would be ranked against what criteria, right? But either way, let's progress to the next article. I thought I'll touch on it since there might be a lot of opportunities that haven't been noticed as of now. That would be nuclear engineering in the UK. I don't think it's that popular, and how strong would be students prepared for what would be required. I don't know if UK prepare would be able to prepare best students, but either way, I thought I'll touch on it, and we can progress and take a look at top performing universities from that point, right? Briefly, right, last point, and we're gonna close everything on an article, right? That we can take a look at top universities based on how much those universities are spending on research. Some of the numbers I was taking a look at was way higher, but either way, so that will be just an example, right? So top universities. To put things into perspective, right? Some of those universities are spending 630 million. That would be one of the top, right? And from there, let's take a look at what's happening with UK tech unicorns. And I think it's an interesting article. I haven't read it, but it was highlighted in Europe that when it comes to tech companies and some of the top performing companies and what's happening with those, when UK's government is handing out contracts of 8 billion to overseas companies, right? Last article we're gonna be taking a look at that video where have all UK stack unicorns going, right? So let's try to understand where are they, yeah. Last year, only 6 UK companies became a unicorn. Even 6, I think it's too big of a number with this kind of decision making. 6? Okay. Either way, let's try to understand what those 6 companies are. UK's companies became unicorn. The title handed out to private startup firms that value more than 1 billion dollars. I don't know if dollars would mean anything with dollar being printed. So as much as other person is willing to accept dollars, I guess if dollar holds any value. But either way, achieving 1 billion or 790 million valuation brings prestige and status to startup firms, but does have its downside. So I don't know. I'm reading all this article for the first time. If anything, I'm looking to understand a little bit better of how there would be more companies, no startups in UK. It's only 6, right? So there are a lot of problems that could potentially be solved locally instead of sending a lot of capital. In this case, sending 8 billion of pounds overseas. Why would 8 billion would be sent anywhere other than the UK cannot solve this problem themselves? But either way, there's a lot of names and might be a lot of businesses. If anything, I'm looking to understand perhaps what's happening, right? In 2021, 36 unicorns were founded in the UK, and in 2022, there were 20, according to some of those businesses with tracks the startup sector, right? There's a lot of tracking going on By the way, but either way, looking further afield, last year in US, 44 unicorns were created, but the UK leads the way in Europe. Germany forward just 4 unicorns in 2023, and Europe overall is looking at the sector as well as they're looking at their own cables and building their own infrastructure because there's something's happening there. By the way, but either way, the recent slowdown can be blamed on the reduced finances from venture capital firms, which turn means the leading tech companies have seen their valuations scaled back, according to the report from Tech Nation. But either way. So the entire sector and hopefully Europe, there are some people. There was someone from finances recently taking a look at the entire sector. I think that is a person from Italy was taking a look at how to structure things a little bit better with starting with building their own infrastructure and starting with having fast internet. Even that, because some of the players in the market they can, historically speaking, slow down internet if they wanted to. So many factors to consider, right? We can take a look at some information, but most likely the in this article we're taking a look at the venture capitalist, which potentially would take percentage of your company, all these kind of things, right? So they highlighting other problems, right? So not necessarily I'm looking to promote that or perhaps decision making as of now, the local government and perhaps laws and how hard it is to scale some of those projects, right? So there's a lot to unpack, right? So we can take a look at this briefly, right? A couple more statements and we're gonna close the study on that. The UK is one of the only 3 countries in the world to have built a tech industry worth more than 1 trillion, clearly a result of world-class talent, determined investors, and successful government that has been prioritized tech as a level of economic growth, so, which has been recognized, right? So UK has that potential, but not necessarily with handing out 8 billion contracts to overseas companies. Then we're losing any hope, but either way. How do you take a 100 million business and make it a 500 million business? Don't you think UK suffers from new innovations of new companies? But I do see supporting scale and more challenges, and it will take time to change, right? So potentially, when it comes to scaling some of those projects, starting with, since we're taking a look at tech sector, internet speed, and perhaps building entire infrastructure themselves. I would say, where else would you start? Let's close on that. Thanks for watching. See you next one.